Welcome, everybody, to the first episode of the Split Diopter podcast. My name's Grayson. I'm joined here by Jackson, and today we're going to be talking about Benny Safdie's The Smashing Machine, which is after the director duo split up, Benny decided to take on this project about UFC wrestler Mark Kerr, whereas Josh Safdie has his release later in the year, Marty Supreme, talking about Marty Mauser and the ping pong world. And so kind of interesting to see them split up. And Jackson, I know you just saw the movie last night. I'm sure it's still very fresh in your mind. What were your initial thoughts on it?
I loved it, to be honest. I didn't, I'm not trying to glaze here, but I did think it was very good compared to the general reception it's been getting. Um, yeah, very, very more. I thought it more fascinating. Even in the second half, where a lot of people I think dropped off, I was still pretty on board.
Yeah, I do think general. I mean, from what I've seen, and even in our slightly differing opinions, it does seem like general reception has been a little mixed. Like, there's been some very positive reviews and some very positive acclaim for the performances and different technical elements. And on the other side, I think that people are also sort of feeling like the sports documentary effect, where it's like not necessarily why did it need to be made, but they just don't connect with it, I guess, on the same level as like other Safdie projects, for example,
Mhm.
either Good Time or Uncut Gems. And I guess that was one big thing for me, just like sort of right out of the gate, is it did not really feel a lot like a Safdie project. Like it was for especially for a subject as intense as UFC fighting, it was like a surprisingly chill time to me. I don't know. It's just
Absolutely, yeah.
it's just
Um,
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if it quite hit levels of like a complete unknown where it's like very like tame and nothing in my opinion.
Right.
But yeah, I feel like it could have gone a lot weirder and a lot wilder, but I guess that's not the story that he's trying to tell. He's just actually trying to be just like very real and authentic and kind of raw. And
Yeah,
I respect that. Not trying to
for sure.
um continue the same type of dynamic that he's had in his past endeavors. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems. I mean, and I tried because I saw it almost about a week ago now, I think, and I tried after watching it to find the original documentary because it's based on I think it's 2002 or so. Documentary of the same name about the same subject, and a lot of the not criticism I saw, but just a lot of the commentary was that like it's very similar to that documentary, shot in a very similar way and covered obviously a very similar subject, and so I think that sort of fed into people's semi-critique of why does it exist.
Mhm.
But it seems to have been removed like everywhere. I could not hunt it down for the life of me, so unfortunately I can't really speak to it. But I do think that it does cover more of his life like holistically in this project, or I'd imagine it would cover much more time outside of the ring as inside of the ring. Um, and I know you had mentioned specifically like wanting to talk about that opening scene as like a good example of um, how it feels to be inside the ring, transitioning to that doctor's office visit with him being outside of the ring and like talking about the sport as a whole.
Yeah. Well, I felt the opening scene is very opening scene, I kind of mean the like the no contest up to there.
Yeah,
Um where, the fight itself is very like, cartoonish and like played up. And then like even, you have the sound effects from the composer Nala Sinefro. If I'm sorry for not pronouncing that right. But it was like very lively and like very Yeah, I mean, almost like you're watching like a Looney Tunes thing, which kind of
Yeah,
makes sense.
it
Like
felt very
in
playful for
yeah, yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah. With the like direct contradiction right after to him in the doctor's office, bloodied and beaten up.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, but he's still, having that perspective on it. I guess the doctor's office is before, obviously the no contest.
right.
But that kind of perspective reminded me a little bit in a weird way of Challengers, where it has Zendaya with the mindset of like it's a relationship and we love each other, and we
Sure.
never
Yeah,
hate
yeah,
each
yeah.
other. As this is like taken like right after she wins. I forget the actual name of the event, but
Yeah, she beats. I think it's like Anna Mueller, where she
yes,
has that
Anna,
like one
yes,
round,
yes,
and
yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then, Anna's obviously like crashing the fuck out. She's like having the worst time of her life. And
Yeah.
Zendaya's like, nah,
Right.
man, we're chill, man. We're
Right.
chill.
Yeah. We were talking for
Um,
a moment there.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think
Um,
that that's and I haven't partaken in, even just personally in my life, I haven't partaken really seriously in any individual one-on-one sports in that capacity. I think running is maybe the closest I've come to it, but it's certainly an interesting perspective of like at the end of the day, your competitors, you both want to win, and at the same time, it's like you're saying, like both of them say, like it's just you are communicating through that medium, and
sure.
I think it's interesting that like both Benny and Josh decided to take on movies that are dealing with that subject, like uh that drive to aspire to like real greatness. And again, Benny with wrestling and or UFC, and Josh with his ping pong stab. It's very interesting, like that whole sports dynamic and how to attempt to balance that with also trying to detail their personal lives. It sounds like Josh is taking the much more like uncut gems, good time approach, whereas Benny Safdie, it feels again almost just sort of like a documentary. Um, and there's some tense moments. Don't get me wrong. There's definitely some build ups and some fall downs. I guess it's probably not the best phrasing for it, but there's definitely like a wave to it. Whereas it sounds like Marty Supreme is definitely taking like the high octane,
Yeah.
full anxiety, full stress. Like it's interesting that it felt like this sort of tamer approach.
Yeah, it definitely seems a lot more normal. It seems interesting as a career decision for The Rock, even. Given his recent choices, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, uh, I mean, you have obviously like Jumanji and the Red series and Black Adam, and yeah.
Yeah, all these masterpieces.
But I
Well, I
mean,
mean,
go back to 2006. You got Southland Tale, so like obviously
right.
you have the evidence of him being an incredible actor, but I think he's finally, at least that's what I felt. Is like maybe he's finally coming around and shining like the star he was always
He
meant to
maybe
be.
can be. Yeah, I was gonna say I wanted to talk about his performance because it's definitely I feel like one of the biggest news points for this, or like review points, I guess, is like everybody's talking about his performance and potential Oscar contention. A lot of people are saying that like it's just a performance that he took on so that he would get acknowledgement from the Academy, um, which I feel like it's hard to speculate something like that.
Hmm.
I understand that he, like you have mentioned, has been in some pretty lackluster films. And so I would understand wanting to be able to feel like you can demonstrate that you're more than what people see you as. But I also imagine that, being a UFC movie, he probably felt very at home. And I hope we use this as an opportunity to, really try and dig a little deeper. I think that it's undeniably one of his best performances. I still, one of my complaints with it is that it felt like he couldn't really cry on camera. And I know we talked about this a little bit before about how you mentioned that like maybe that's more in character, which I hadn't initially considered, like not showing that not softer outside because he really is like a gentle guy. Like he seems like a very like
Absolutely.
kind and until he isn't, I guess. But for the most part, he's a very down to earth, just like it seems like very like humble, likable guy.
Yeah.
Um, and so I could understand a little bit the whole hide his softer side because he's supposed to be this strong fighter, but on the opposite side of what I just said, he's this sort of lovable individual. I also think that maybe it speaks a little bit more to his acting capabilities than his character itself in terms of like his ability to show a wider emotional range on camera. I don't know. What did
Interesting.
you think?
I did not think that at all. I don't
Yeah.
know. I was like fully locked into the story, and I was just like, this guy, like, if immediately I'm like writing in my notes because I'm the only person in the theater, so I'm just like scribbling everything down as fast as I can. Um, and immediately I'm like, this guy's like the most like gentle and like heartwarming person within the first like 5 minutes. I mean, you can just like just from the way he talks and like when he's in Japan, especially, I just felt
Yeah.
like he's like so sweet as a human. Which I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's part of uh the drugs and alcohol. Definitely having maybe a connection to that. But yeah, yeah, with him crying on camera, I totally thought that was just part of his character. Just the idea that probably him having that idea that men don't cry and like growing up in that probably that type of environment,
Sure.
where he has the no contest and then immediately goes to his own um, you know not dressing room, but competitive dressing room, whatever you want to call it.
Right. Right.
To actually cry. Even towards the end, we're treated as like a viewer, as like a spectator. When we're supposed to like know this man the most, right? Is like the very end of the movie, after everything he's been through, all the surgery, all the pain, all the drama, and we're in the shower and we're like trying to see him, right? But he's like not letting us, right? He's like hiding behind. He's just shoving his back into the camera, and
Sure.
the
Right.
camera can't, we can't see him
Yeah.
clearly until he turns around and he starts laughing, right? Which,
Right.
like, that's the only thing he can show to the public is his happiness, right?
Yeah.
It's like forbidden. It probably ingrained in his mind, that it's you just can't do that.
Right.
You can't
As a public
cry in
figure.
public and show that. So that's what I
Sure.
got from that.
Yeah, and
Um,
talking about the whole sort of film is like shot from this sort of spectator view, like even in the more intimate scenes where you see him like in rehab or in his home with Dawn, who's played by Emily Blunt. It does seem like again we never really get like a full glimpse into him. It seems like there's always this like level of or I guess this wall between what he feels he can show not only us but also the other people who are important to him in his life. Like, and so I definitely think that I hadn't initially considered it that way, and it's some good food for thought. I just it's hard for me, I guess, to separate those things because of his past as an actor, and I haven't seen Southland Tales, so I've only seen the stuff where he really plays himself for the
yeah,
most part.
right, sure.
So it's hard for me to fully get there, but I do think that that's a really really interesting point in terms of how his character presents in combination with the acting and or directing choices that they're making behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And this is, I don't know. I guess it's a very easy movie. Like, I'm not sure if he would have signed up to the Smashing Machine if it was kind of like a weirder Safdie project. You know,
Sure.
I,
Yeah.
I wonder if like the simplicity of this story made it easy for him to say yes and do this contract. And because I know, wasn't there that drama or whatever a few years back where like The Rock would only say yes to movies if he was portrayed in a good light or something like that? I swear I heard
Yeah, I
that.
remember
I don't know if
hearing
that was
about
a
that. Yeah.
rumor or if that was like an actual
There's
thing.
yeah, I remember hearing
Um,
about it.
but yeah, I wonder. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he's changed. I truly don't know. This is all, just pure speculation, but just from what
Sure.
I viewed, um, yeah,
Well, and
I
I think
hope
that
that.
it's still a film that portrays him in a good light. I mean, there's definitely more levels to it. It's a little
Yeah,
bit more of a dynamic performance, and you get to see some of the darker side. But in general, like we mentioned, he seems like a good dude, a good human, gentle human.
true.
Especially for his stature and career path. Definitely some, I don't want to say irony, but I guess some juxtaposition there. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if that entirely breaks that mold, but I get what you mean. Like, this is definitely an opportunity that he's had for a more nuanced performance, and I think that on almost all levels, I think he delivers pretty well. It's definitely one of the better leading performances he's given.
For sure. And
And yeah, you
no, I
go.
think just segueing to kind of the fights themselves, or even just talking about like Mark Kerr as like a character.
Hmm.
I think it's just hard, at least while watching it. It was so hard for me to root for him ever. Um,
Really?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it was so. I had such an emotional like conflict internally, because I have this like outside like political view that like UFC is bad and it makes our culture more violent and like addicted to
Oh, sure.
seeing
Yeah, yeah,
bad
yeah.
shit and
Right.
seeing like just glorifying blood and violence, whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
um and how the narrative is like convincing you that you want to see this guy go to the top. You want to see him fight Mark Coleman in the 1v1, and you want to
Right.
see
Yeah.
him win the big 200 thou, and holy fuck, this guy's
Yeah.
made it. But at the same time, it's like I don't like. I want him to almost get his ass kicked. Like I was so relieved when he did almost, because I'm like, thank God you can finally get out. Like on like a human to human level, I'm like, I don't want you to face any more pain and suffering. So I
Sure.
want your ass to lose, which is in direct conflict with what I think the movie. Well, maybe not, but I think like I guess from like a simple like perspective, I think what the movie, like what you expect from the movie.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it was very interesting seeing that dynamic change, and even when he gets out of rehab, he has that scene at the I don't know if it's like a rally car, I don't know what you call it, but you know what I mean, with the cars hitting each other, and he kind of gets like not desensitized, but almost the opposite. He gets sensitized
Right. Yeah. Sort of
to
a call to action almost
yeah,
in a way.
yeah. Um, which I
Yeah.
don't
It's
know. It felt like that almost got lost. Um,
sure.
I don't know. I mean, he had that. It felt like a change of heart, but then it got immediately lost because he just went right back to pride.
Yeah. Right. Well, I mean, I don't have like a UFC background or I mean, meaning like obviously in terms of like I didn't like grow up watching wrestling or anything of the sort. Like it's not a subject that's ever been particularly interesting to me. But I do think that like you're saying, like it does create this weird dichotomy in terms of like you don't want to see people fight each other, whether or not it's mostly as a spectacle or as a real thing, or somewhere in between. Uh, you don't want to see that, but at the same time, it's like you said, it's hard to walk that line between understanding him as a competitor and wanting to see him achieve his goals and win because outside of the ring, for the most part, he's a great guy. Um, it's weird to sort of toe that line, I suppose.
Yeah, and even seeing him, at least I got emotionally connected to the character. Seeing him come out of that rehab center, um, just because that same exact rehab center in Sierra Tucson, I had two family members go probably I guess in the past 10 years or so, um, and it was just like it was so hard seeing both of them go through that, and then
Yeah,
seeing
I'm sure.
him
Jesus.
walk out of there, like literally the same walls, the same gate. I'm like, it's like
Yeah.
it's like ingrained in my mind almost.
Damn. Yeah,
But
I can definitely understand having a bit
yeah,
more of a connection for sure.
yeah, it was just very hard seeing this man go through so much pain, and I guess that's why I liked it a lot more. Is just because I emotionally resonated with the character. I felt more empathy towards him just because I've felt that way, for my
Yeah,
family members. But yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
I don't know. I liked a lot of this movie. Um,
Yeah, I think that there's a lot to like about it. I think yeah, what really it boils down to for me is it's a good sports story. I think that I have very few like real qualms with it. I think it just sort of like I touched on briefly earlier. I think that the performances are mostly pretty solid. I think that when they're not as good, I think it comes down more to the script and the general pacing and writing than anything. I think a big thing for me is it did sort of feel a little meandering. Like it didn't quite lean enough into either the fighting side and the sports side or the personal life side. Like
mm,
it just I don't feel like I personally got quite enough in either aspect um to really like send it, hit it home for me.
yeah,
Um
for sure.
I don't know. I think there is, like you're saying, I think there's a lot of good. But I think one of the big conversations coming out of this is Oscar season, Oscar contention. I know
Sure.
that we've had quite a few good leading performances this year, and nomination season is in like 2 months. I believe it's like early mid January. Um, so what are your thoughts? Do you think he's gonna get nominated? Do you think he's not gonna get nominated? Do you
I
want him to get
think
nominated?
I think he's going all the way. No, I'm just kidding. Imagine that.
That would be the best fast one the Academy could ever pull. That would be incredible.
I do think he's getting a nomination. To be fair, I don't know.
You think so?
I think he actually is. Um, I think we're getting Timothy. Probably
Who
a
I think
lock.
probably is. I think he's probably gonna be the winner based off.
Yeah,
Again, I know Marty Supreme only has really aired at NIF, and it just seems like reception for that is ridiculous. Seems like him and Leo are kind of the big race of the year. That seems to be the dialogue,
yeah.
and I think obviously Leo is great. Don't get me wrong, but based off early reception for this Timothy performance, I think it sounds like a relative lock. So,
I don't. Yeah.
assuming those two are in, who do you think might round out the other three? And do
Um,
you think that The Rock has a spot, like a potential spot?
sure. I think Michael B. Jordan's probably a lock for Sinners. I think Sinners is a lock for a lot of at least nominations. I think it's definitely going to be
Yeah, and so
nominated
he
for a
just sort
lot.
of he slides into actor because it's in a lot of others. I mean, the
I
performance is great too.
and
Don't get me wrong,
yeah.
he fits in there because it's going to be, like you said, getting a lot of nominations, most likely.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I haven't seen obviously The Secret Agent, but there's been a lot of buzz for Wagner Moura.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and
I was to say, I know he won Best Actor at Cannes earlier this
right,
year, so that's a, I imagine a pretty big deal, and I can't remember if it's Neon or what studio is going to be pushing that, but I imagine they will campaign pretty hard for him to get in that slot.
um, yeah, and then for that fifth slot, I mean, there's been talk about Jesse Plemons, right,
Mm-hmm.
Begonia, which I could see. I don't know. I think it's in that spot. I think it's between Jesse Plemons and maybe The Rock. As much as I think there's, I mean, obviously, I haven't seen Begonia, but from an, from just inferring about the future, I think there's been kind of better performances this year. They could fit that role, but I don't know if they have
Sure.
the wide reach or even the like academy reach. Uh, like you have the Eddington Walking Phoenix, which I would
I would
love to
I would
see,
love that. Yeah.
but there's just no fucking way.
Yeah. I sadly
uh,
think I got to agree with you. I think the same is maybe true for Begonia as well, where it's just
yeah,
like
sure.
maybe the performance is really great, but in terms of like what is palatable for the Academy,
Well, I mean, they
that
did
might
have
not
Poor
be.
Things,
Yeah,
back
true.
in
That's a good
23.
point. Well, Poor Things. Yeah, no, that's a great point actually. Maybe Plemons is in contention. I haven't really heard much about his performance at this point. I know that
Yeah.
people are saying good stuff, but I think beyond that, like, there's just a lot that I've seen from this year that I would prefer over this, and I don't even think The Rock gives a bad performance. I mean, I think I said it, enough earlier about how I think there's a lot of great elements to his performance. But it's like I haven't seen Anemone, but Daniel Day-Lewis, I
Mm,
think, is always a name you have to consider.
absolutely.
Um, I loved Pattinson and Mickey 17. Do I think it'll get a shred of Academy attention? Absolutely not. But I think that'd be cool. I don't know. It's just, and there hasn't been a lot of like really strong leading performances this year, I feel like, besides those two. And then also Jeremy Allen White in Springsteen, I think most people are kind of considering an auto lock.
Yes,
Like,
true, true, true. I forgot about
um,
that. Yeah, yeah.
I think it's pretty easy, especially in terms of like a music biopic, and even just from the trailer footage and early reception, like it seems like he is going to be the strongest element of that movie. Um, so I think those three are sort of locks in my head, and then those last two spots are sort of up for grabs. I think it's either Wagner or Wagner. Mora is definitely pretty high up there, and then yeah, it's maybe The Rock, it's maybe Michael B. Jordan, it's maybe Daniel Day Lewis. It's but I mean, again, I would prefer Phoenix or even Benicio from Phoenician Scheme, who
Oh,
I
what
love.
a pull. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, it's just I don't know. I think that part of me, it's almost like a metaphor for the movie in a sense where it's like there's a part of me that's rooting for The Rock to get an Oscar nomination. I don't know why. He doesn't have a past that I particularly love. I think I just admire the attempt to take on something bigger.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you're comparing what I would call is a pretty good performance to a history of very one-noted performances, I don't know how much for me that really elevates him in comparison to other performances this year that are much more nuanced, but also come from actors who have been giving a lifetime of nuanced performances.
For sure.
Like
Absolutely.
in my head, comparing something that people might even see as great to a history of bad is a lot easier than comparing something that maybe slightly edges out other actors' previous great performances with something even better.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I think between everybody who's in contention, I think it's between Leo and Marty for sure. As much as I'd like
yeah.
to even just see like a nod to The Rock would be
Yeah.
very, very sweet. Has Leo won an Oscar?
Yeah, he won for The Revenant. It was like a
Okay.
big deal back in,
Got it, got
I
it.
think, either 2016 or 2017. But yeah, he was like someone who'd been in the industry forever, and it
Right.
was his sixth nomination and first win.
Okay.
So it was a big deal, and I'd love to see him go home with a second one. I think that it's very possible
Yeah,
in terms of Academy retrospect.
I think
But
it's sorry, good.
no, you're good.
I think this is very interesting, both Timothy and Leo's performances this year. Because what I've heard is Marty Supreme is very much Timothy Chalamet. I mean, he has that like famous speech where he's, like not to glaze, but I try to be the best out here. Or, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. The I'm in pursuit of greatness. It's pretty
Uh,
sick.
yeah, right. And it seems like Marty Supreme follows that same type of narrative.
Yeah,
And then, one battle is I think I read this whole, the Ehrlich's review where he's kind of talking about how it's not like kind of the magnum opus of his career, like it's all culminated to this point. But
sure.
yeah, I mean, a lot to talk about over the next few
I was gonna
months.
say, yeah, Oscars is definitely gonna be
It's
something we
it's a
get more
big
into
convo.
as it.
It's a big
Yeah,
convo.
absolutely. And I think the latter half of the year has a lot of stuff that you and I are gonna feel very strongly about. Like, I know that you think 2025 as a whole has been a pretty solid year. I have some more qualms, I think, but regardless, I think that a lot of what is going to be in contention for the big awards is coming in the next couple months. So I'm excited to get into it with you and
For sure.
talk about it more. But
Can't wait.
in terms of the Smashing Machine, I think I'm sort of wrapped on my thoughts. Thought it
Yeah.
was solid. Wish it had been a little bit more for me. I wish it had been a little bit more focused, but still a solid movie that I'm glad that I saw, and I think other people should definitely go see.
Absolutely. I think it's definitely worth a watch. And yeah, I think that pretty much leaves us there for the Smash Machine. Um, yeah, thanks for joining us today, whenever you're watching, wherever you're watching. If you have any feedback, let us know in the comments. If let us know if you want to see anything, if you want us to talk about anything on your mind, movie wise, upcoming, Oscar wise, this year wise, whatever you want. So we'd love to hear about it. We will read it, positive or negative. We will fucking see it and resent you.
For sure.
So
For sure.
yeah, that about leaves it. So thanks for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.